And we're back! That's my radio DJ voice. All right. I want to do a video today and something that I've been thinking about a bit, something that I've been hearing about on the internet. And what that is UFC 203, more specifically the match between CM Punk and Mickey Gall. Now, this will be CM Punk's MMA debut. Now, this has been very anticipated. People have been talking about this a lot. There's some people who've been kind of hating on CM Punk a lot for doing this, saying that he'll lose right away, he has no business doing this. But other people, myself included, want CM Punk to win and feel that CM Punk has a shot to win in this match. Now, CM Punk, for those who don't know, is a pro wrestler, probably one of the most famous pro wrestlers in recent years. He's from the Chicagoland area and really kind of became famous in pro wrestling and really became, one of the major stars in WWE. Now, apparently he had some falling out with Vince McMahon, and for whatever reason, I think he just kind of got disinterested in pro wrestling, so he decided to make the transition into MMA. Now, apparently what happened there, and he did kind of reveal this recently, he was at a UFC event, and because, he is friends with, like Chael Sonnen and other UFC fighters, and he's been into it for a while. But he was at a UFC event, and he ran into Dana White and the Fertittas, and they asked him, would you ever want to get in there? Would you ever want to compete in MMA for the UFC? And he said yes. It's something you would definitely be interested in doing. Now, pretty much what Dana White and the Fertittas were doing was they were giving him an offer. I mean, he didn't actually mention that it was an offer, but if you think about it, that was really an offer. They gave CM Punk the offer to fight in the UFC, and he said yes. So then, the next thing CM Punk did was he went to go train. Now, this was nearly 2 years ago that he signed with the UFC. So he then found a place to train. It was Rufus Sport in Milwaukee. Now, Rufus Sport is said to be one of the best MMA facilities in the country, maybe even the world. But he went, to train at Rufus Sport, and supposedly while training, he got a shoulder injury. And that's the reason why it's been so long to, have this match. But even, I guess, in addition to that, there was some kind of back injury that he had as well. The back injury, I know, was pro wrestling related, I'm pretty sure. He was walking around with this herniated disc in his back, and he needed to get that taken care of. A lot of pro wrestlers will often walk around kind of banged up. I mean, that's just what happens. But he's walking around with this herniated disc, and the shoulder injury, I believe, was from the MMA training, though. But now, apparently he's been doing a lot of sparring. He's gotten back into the training again, and some videos have been released showing him training. Some people think that he doesn't look that great. There's been some talk about how people feel that he doesn't really throw a good jab and all that. Who knows? I mean, maybe CM Punk is just kind of doing this to sort of get in the head of his opponent, Mickey Gall. Which, to say a few things now about, Mickey Gall. Mickey Gall's, very young guy, up-and-comer, skilled jiu-jitsu guy. I believe he has a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. And in addition to that, he won his first UFC fight in spectacular fashion. So he'll be the guy that CM Punk will be fighting. He claims that he'll probably beat CM Punk in, a minute or at least the first round. Who knows? I don't think he'll be able to do that, but that remains to be seen. So, in addition to that, CM Punk, just to say another thing on him, he kind of, when he was in pro wrestling, if I can understand correctly, he had kind of a gimmick of sort of like an MMA gimmick. And I think his gimmick, he had a gimmick of how he was like kind of a good striker. I think he also had like a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gimmick as well. And I guess he did train in some Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and has been for a while under Henner Gracie, but he's still at white belt level because when he was pro wrestling, he just didn't really have the time to focus on MMA because those guys are on the road all the time. He just didn't have time to focus on MMA or Jiu-Jitsu or anything, of that nature. But, so now he has been focusing on it and, training hard, so it'll be interesting. Like I said, a lot of people saying that he doesn't have a chance. Mickey Gall's too good. But to that I say, and I mention, and I should mention the fact that people have to understand one thing about CM Punk. CM Punk, when he wanted to be a pro wrestler, was told by a lot of people that he was too small to be a pro wrestler. CM Punk is on the smaller side of pro wrestlers, about a 215-pound guy. And in pro wrestling is, a lot of those guys are just, huge monsters. So 215 is on the smaller end of, pro wrestling. For example, it would be like, Shawn Michaels, Daniel Bryan, Bret Hart. But usually in pro wrestling, when a guy is small, that guy will usually have some kind of a gimmick or some kind of a thing to compensate for a small size. For example, like Bret Hart had the fact that, he was this like technical genius. Shawn Michaels had the fact that he was this real well-conditioned athlete. So, yeah, pretty much, CM Punk's thing, like I just said, he had kind of an MMA gimmick. He also had the straight edge gimmick of, not doing drugs and drinking. That was another thing CM Punk had. I think it's more than a gimmick. I believe, he really is that. But, so that's pretty much what I wanted to say. This is going to be UFC 203. There are a few other matches happening on UFC 203. One of them is Travis Brown versus Fabricio Verdum. Who knows? I don't know who will win that. Probably Fabricio Verdum, but I'm really not sure. The other one is Miocic versus Overeem. That one I feel that's difficult to say who will win. I think Overeem will pull it off, but that's just hard to say. And that match is for the heavyweight title. So, that's all I have to say on this video. Just kind of wanted to do a video talking about, CM Punk, because CM Punk, for this training has been doing everything right. He really has. He went to a really good training facility, like I said, Rufus Sport. So, who knows how we'll do. I hope he does good, like I said. So that's all I have to say right now. Again, as always, I thank you for watching.